Hey folks, welcome to our latest episode of Clan from the Stands. We are at full strength. Let's go. Yes, I want to just check the recording will start. It says the recording will start soon. Let's make sure we're on air. Okay, yeah, we are recording. Good. Okay, so technical difficulty there. Just want to double check that we're getting that start, so we get off with a bang. So we're good to see you all. It's my birthday today, so we're doing this is no better way to spend my birthday than doing an episode with all you boys. So lovely to see you. How are we, Phil? You've got. Look at this, some classics here. Matrix, Braveheart, obviously, Yoda there, absolute legend.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a little. What room?
A fan poster.
Movie room is this? Is this your little?
It's a TV room, mate. I was up the loft and all my canvases and that had been up there for a long time. So brought them down and put them up during the week and that. So we're getting there. There was a few damage where I'd left the strip light on in the attic and it had bleached the ones that were at the top because the light's probably been on for a month at a time. So I need to get a few replacements. But yeah, facelift.
Nice one. Looks good, mate. Looks good. Chris, how are you, mate? Congratulations on the new job. So how are things?
Things are really good, mate. Yeah, things are good after the big storm, which blew slates off the roof and took the roof off my garden shed. Oh, mate. So, but apart from that, mate, all good.
Good stuff. Colin, the power's back on with you. I know you had a bit of a power outage, didn't you? Listen, yeah. We were fine here, but I said to my wife, I said, actually, I was kind of hoping for a power cut. Because remember, we used to get them when I was younger. I used to love it. We get the candles on, the torches. Yeah. The kids just love it. So did the kids enjoy it?
Well, it was different. Like, it's kind of trusting without technology in it. So it's like we had candles with a wee we called it a toilet torch because you need to use the torch to go to the bog. But yeah, we had a bit of damage. We've got some broken tiles in the roof, so we've got a couple of holes in the roof as well. So we just need to get them fixed. But no, we're able to get through unscathed, so that's the main thing. But yeah, we were at power outage for about 12 hours.
Yeah, well, listen, we're going to get to it, but I'll tell you what, we could have done with maybe some storms to cancel a couple of games in the recent run, boys. Let's not lie. So the wrong one got cancelled, I think. We're going to get into it. Listen, Twitter is absolutely lit up today, so thank you very much to everyone. Look, we're going to dissect. Obviously, it's been it was meant to be 4 games since we last spoke, but the 5th game obviously did fall foul to the storm that did hit Glasgow and the West Coast pretty hard. But yeah, we did have 3 other games. So we had the home game against Sheffield, a 3-1 loss. Then obviously the cup. I don't even know. I was going to say semi-final, but it's not. It was the elimination game in the Challenge Cup. I think it was called the elimination game. Between us.
I think we forgot about it too, Ross. If you watched it,
it wasn't great. And then obviously we're going to get to the Dundee game. It just not an unfamiliar experience for us this year, going to Dundee and a game panning out. It seems to be a repeating pattern of behaviour. So yeah, quite buoyant last time. Again, this is the ups and downs of being a Clan fan. So we are going to get into all of that. What we think's maybe gone wrong. As we said when we last spoke, it was a really critical period for the team after it was a couple of disappointing results among some good results at the festive period in what is crunch time for the season, and then things have obviously not gone so well in the past week or so. But we're going to get into it all. We're going to analyze it, debate it. We're going to go through it all. That will cover a lot of the questions. What I will then do, I will go through and see if there's any unanswered questions and get to as many of them as we can for you folks. And yeah, we appreciate you tuning in. So anyway, look, we're going to start. So let's get into I would say the best of a bad bunch. That's maybe the episode name. But the Sheffield game, I thought, and again, I was cast in for that one, and then obviously the other 2 games here, I wasn't there in person, but I was up north for Alfie's birthday. January is a busy birthday month in our family, so yeah, I watched it, and I actually thought, look, I think Cody's assessment of the game, to me, I think Cody would have, I remember correctly, he was very, very praising of the team and felt like we were the better team, dominated. He was very happy with the performance. I thought we were okay. I thought we were good at points in that game, and it just kind of felt like Sheffield just were more clutch, and we were. And I don't think Bo had a
quality, mate. That's what it came down to.
It was a bit of that. I didn't feel like Sheffield had to be brilliant, is what I mean. Whereas I feel like we were kind of trying to be at full tilt. But I mean, goalie got pulled.
You would
back
say that,
out.
mate, there was zero penalties, none at all.
I know in the game
It
was a weird game.
game.
Yeah, it was a weird game. But I mean, we're going to have to get into the goalie situation because there was some goes in, then he's out, and then he's back in, and it was a bit of a weird game. The Nottingham game obviously was, from my perspective, not a good. I as I said, I backed as I thought we could. I felt that game would have been tighter than it was because we've matched up quite well and very tightly against Nottingham. And then the Dundee game was a disaster. So it just kind of felt like we're on this, like, it just went from like Sheffield game was, I felt somewhat forgivable, but yeah, it did go from bad to worse and then worse again. Chris, I'm going to bring you in first here, mate, because I don't usually do that. I want to get your perspective on, at this time of the season, which really is, we're getting into the crunch time, right? You've got the obviously elimination game in the Cup, which is probably the Clan's most likely route to any sort of silverware. What do you put this down to after, we talked about how good our home form was. We did know we have had trouble on the road, and they have, that's happened again. But the losing to Sheffield at home was obviously a tough one to take as well. What's your assessment of what's gone wrong here, I guess, in terms of the slump in results, the recent slide?
Well, I mean, you're coming up again, first of all, and you're talking about Sheffield and Nottingham. You're coming up against superior opposition. Then the likes of the lower end teams, of which we are one. We've scored 4 goals in 3 games since we last had a cast. 4 goals in 3 games. So you're not going to win many games by scoring just over a goal a game. Let's be honest. Even if you get Matt Greenfield in net, for Clan, the chances of you winning the game is very, very slim. So, but you just need to look at our goals form against. We don't score enough goals. We're not clinical enough in clutch moments, and we just don't. The guys like the guys that score your goals, the guys like Yule and stuff like that. These guys are. We got a lot of workman-like players, but we just don't have that wee bit of class the way Yule has, and composure in front of net. And I think it shows when we come up against the better teams in particular.
Okay, Phil, what did you make of the three? And any standout things for you? Where you're kind of like, I think again, it can just be as simple as, it's been a bad week or so, or do you think that we're starting to show? Is there some issues in this squad that maybe we're starting to see now in these kind of crunch moments, or do you think, are you still relatively happy with what you're seeing from the boys and Corey?
No, we'll start at Sheffield. At Braehead with the Sheffield game, like you said, we didn't play terrible, but I felt it was I just felt we never really got going. It was a big come down for the weekend before. Can I put it like that? There was they get the 3 goals in the first period. A few, I think all of them were mistakes, if I remember right, by us.
Mistake was putting 1 goals. That was a mistake, mate. Jesus Christ.
So we were out here. We're chasing it after that. But we fought and we dug in, but there was, like Chris says, there was no quality in show, no much quality in show really. It was a very forgettable game, Ross. I don't really remember much about it. That's the best way I can sum that up. Do you want me to talk about the other?
I know. Just want to get your take. Just your take on what you think.
I got the webcast for the semi-final, and before a puck was dropped, I was praying that Clan would turn them over down there, because the commentary team down there were like talking about us as if we were Fife. They were complete and utter arseholes. I was like so raging listening to them. I'm like, please, please, please. And then they went 1-0 up, and it was as if like they were going to absolutely destroy us. And then they did, but then we scored. Did we make that 1 each?
2-1.
2-1. Yeah. So at 2-0 up, sorry, they were talking as if the game was over, and then we scored, and I was like jumping about. I'm watching that. I'm watching the football at the same time. But at that point when we scored, I was kind of paying less attention to the football and I was watching the match. And then after that, we just, I don't know what happened. Well, I know what happened. They scored 5 more goals. In the end, I was that disgusted. I just flipped my laptop down and put it off. And then Dundee, we can talk about that in a bit.
Dundee, yeah. Colin, what were you? Any thoughts?
The Sheffield game, I was similar to Phil. Like, there was nothing stand out. I mean, as much as we slagged off like Bo, he did pull off a worldie, a save in the third. Was it second period? No, third period. But like when you look at the game, there was 0 penalties, so there was no fight really. It was like a training game. There was nothing really that stood out. We outshot Sheffield 63-35, right? And then we've outshot them shots on goal 36-24. Now, we're scoring 1 in 36. That's a shambles, right? In any game. And then you're going like down to Nottingham and playing like that. I noticed a few of them like coasting. Like when I think it was the 4th goal went in, watch McClelland and Finlay. The two of them are standing almost at the halfway line and they're literally not doing anything. And we're a real Jekyll and Hyde team. See, when we play well, we're fun to watch, right? And you can get behind it. But then we've got 8 points out of 17 games away from home. That's shambolic. That is, I mean, we're only 6 points better off than Fife. And we've probably spent a whole load more. So my biggest, me at all of the games, it goes back to recruitment again. Berry has made 0 difference. I called it when he pulled it in. He was too similar to what we had, and he wasn't a goal scorer. We lacked that. The boy Steve, who's come in, has again done nothing, and he hardly ever plays now. And then you've got that absurd like thing that they did with Cade Nielsen, which totally is backfired. So if you look at the additions or whatever we've brought in, Martinet, I think he's been okay, but nothing to kind of cry home about. But if you look at the additions, I'll put that in inverted commas, and the support that they've brought in, they have made 0 difference, none whatsoever. So, like, as much as I wasn't a big fan of Gary Hayden, he still put up more goals than this guy Berry, who's done the square root of nothing since he's turned up. I really don't like him. I think he's below average and doesn't add anything to the team. So for me, we lack, to kind of Chris's point, we lack quality. We have one guy that has a bit of pizzazz with the puck that he can put in the back of the net and is a real kind of sniper. I think with that, we have no one. If Uli got injured, touch wood, we are in real trouble this year.
Yeah, I think look, try and be somewhat balanced. Don't get too low with these lows, but it kind of all this week has done is it's kind of there's been moments there we put 6 wins together, whatever it was, and you start getting a little bit carried away with it and start believing and seeing things. And I think, like I said, I think I've said this for a while with this team. I feel like the way that Corey. And we all come to the Dundee game, and I do think when I start thinking, you start going, well, how are we still having the same problems, like discipline? You kind of there's patterns that start to emerge, and you start to get to know the team that you're watching. And I think I said this. I can't remember when I said this in a previous cast. I was like, well, it feels like the way that he wants us to play, the way we have to play with this group of players to win, is like we have just got to be like at 100 miles an hour. And it's like and like you say, Colin, we've been at games. You go when it works. And this is where I think the home and away at home. I think the energy of the crowd, like being there, that does lean into that kind of. If you're that kind of team, being in the road, obviously it's the opposite. You don't really have that kind of that external factor that can kind of sometimes just give you that push, that psychological push when you're tired. And it just feels like this is what's the wheels are coming off a bit because what that does is it to Chris's point, it does mask the quality because I think we're an effort team. We've got to be at like 110% effort every night to be competitive. And I remember saying earlier in the season, is that sustainable over a season? I don't know how sustainable that style of hockey is if you've got to be at that maximum level all the time. And I think going on the road is particularly tough. So I think it's kind of validated that for me a bit where I'm just like, and then the other side of that with the Dundee thing is like, he does like to play physical. And I think you are, when you're playing that way, you are playing always often a little bit on the edge of the rules. And I just think this is where you're seeing, it's maybe part and parcel of the style, right? Where you are gonna get, it's happened too often now. And I know Cody's criticised and said he doesn't mind a penalty that's if guys are being physical and finishing their checks, but it's the silly little the hooks and the the slashes and the the daft ones that he doesn't like. But yeah, I don't know. That's what I've reflected on. And I do think the goalie situation is again proven out to be
0.89 stats, both of them.
It's just okay. I think it's not. It's been worse, right? So this is what I mean. I'm not looking at it going, this is like the worst. It's just, as I said, it's bottom half goaltending. Chris, this is your point, right? In terms of the reality of where we are, we have a bottom half, and I think Breen as a backup is fine. Bo as a starter, as an import netminder, there isn't enough of a gulf, and he's not a top half table goalie.
Bottom half netminder for a bottom half team.
That's basically what it is, isn't it?
Ross, that's a harsh reality.
Yeah, so I think maybe it's like carried away.
Seventh is the best we can get to now. Like the sixth is way too far away, and we don't have the guile nor the mentality to go on a run to catch the teams above us that are now about 10 points ahead. So seventh is the best we can hope for, which is pretty shambolic considering it's only like a couple of points better off than we were this time last year. So I genuinely am. There's times I love it, but the problem is the majority of the time I'm totally scunnered because you kind of feel as if you've been cheated because you buy into it and you start to get excited about it again, and then when you're up high, you just get kicked back in the stones and then you fall again. That kind of way. It's pretty bad. It's
tough. Phil, you got something to say?
Just to come in on what you were saying about the team needing the crowd, like they're pros. They should be up for the games with or without the fans. Like, they need the crowd to hold their hand through matches. That's how it feels to me, and that's how the away record is as shambolic as it is. It's just not good enough.
Pro's a very interesting word, mate, after watching how we fell apart at Dundee. So I would say it's more amateur, but we'll come on to that, Philip.
Yeah. No, we'll call that and actually very shortly. But no, I know what you mean. And I think you're right. I think that I know they're pros. I mean, it's just like, why are sports? Why is it easier at sport to play at home? And as I say, I think that there's teams that have a certain style that feed off the crowd. I think that's the kind of team, like I said, because I do think the style of hockey, I've said this all along, is I don't think we're great to watch. I don't think we've ever been brilliant to watch this year. I don't think that. I think we are a war of attrition team, but I just don't think that is the amount of games you got to play. I just don't think it's sustained, and that's what I think we're starting to see now. And as it wears on, you're seeing this. It's like we're not able to do it, and it's really hard when you go away and you get behind, which can happen. Their crowd gets engaged. It saps your energy a bit, right? We've all been there playing sport where you're like, you're not making those extra runs, extra effort, and that's where these intangibles come in. And I do think that this team need that because it's showing up for a lack of quality, as we've talked about.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're saying. It's masking the wins at home, are potentially masking the amount of ability that we've actually got in that team. Like you're saying, we're not a good team to watch, but when we're going, we're an exciting team to watch, but not for a skill point of view.
Yeah, yeah. What do you know? We're good to watch. It's when we're kind of clogging up the neutral zone, or we're on the forecheck and we're turning the. I always say it. When we turn the puck over, we actually looked at. But you see, when we have to go and from behind our own net, it just seems hard, and we're not a team that finds that particularly easy. Our shots are all teams find it very easy to box us out, right? Whereas when we get engaged higher up the ice and we turn the puck over, obviously they're not in their defensive shape. So that's what I mean. We're not a great team to watch, but when we play like that, to your point, it's exciting because you're getting these kind of like 2-on-2. You get those moments, and we've had some really good moments this year when we've done that well. I just think again the level of I think somebody was at that Guildford fan. I can't remember your name. Sorry, said when we were previewing one of the Guildford games said. And I was talking about being on the road, and I do think like winning in the road's hard, and there's a way you've got to win on the road, and it's not easy, especially if you're a team like ours. And they said, I don't know if you've got the personnel to do that. And I think Cody actually said he just doesn't believe in that. And this is what I think is another problem. It's like it's very tough for us to go and do that night in, night out, because I just think that requires our level of, if you think about, if you took it's like in football, they say the amount of, meters that you've run versus the opposition. I feel like we have to skate, the amount of effort we have to put in is higher to mask the quality issues. And I think that's really, really, really hard to do on a consistent basis to be able to get into the sort of top half of this table.
We're consistently inconsistent. That's the hard bit. We don't have consistency. And when you look at it, we were me and Phil were talking about this in the Sheffield game, and there's certain guys that are bits of standouts. When you're watching it, you can almost tell I don't mean who's going to but you know what they're going to do before they've done it. They say they keep doing this same diagonal pass, and it seems to get caught out every single time. But yeah, I mean, Dupree for me is a bit I like him. He skates well. He's probably the one guy for me through all the bad performances that's probably stood out. Not as being bad. I just like him as a player, Dupree. I think he's a very calm head with the puck, but again, yeah, it's just frustrating, man. Because even we do play well at Guildford. We left the Guildford game buzzing. And then we went to Sheffield and we left, and you're thinking, what happened? There was nothing to talk about, nothing to cheer about. There was nothing. It was as if it was just one of those games. But again, these guys are a high level. See, if you look at their CVs, you can't tell me these guys don't have experience. We talked about Landon Bow, saying you could never tell that guy has played in the NHL. See, when you look at him, sometimes he pulls off a couple of really top-class saves, but see, when he's bad, Jesus, you could put a junior in nets and just give him a pop, because he's the experience on paper is not reflected on the ice at all.
Now you could fit your head through his 5-hole, mate. I'm telling you, it's like Jesus.
Well, see, while you're on that, right? I know he lost the goals against Sheffield and stuff like that, but Brian, 5 of the 6 goals Brian lost against Dundee were 5-hole. Now, see if that was Landon Bow, that guy would have been chased out of Glasgow. So it's not, you can't just say, it's the keeper's 5-hole. So it's both their 5-holes is a problem now. The chances that we're giving up are ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And see, especially for wider areas.
When I'm watching the highlights and stuff, see the amount of one-on-ones, with the goalkeeper with no defender anywhere near them, it's embarrassing. It's happening more often every single game. You know what I mean? It's just
I've said this before.
Ones we're giving away.
I noticed just in the past 4 or 5 games, the kind of run of the home games we had, where see if not out wide, but from wider positions. When we've got 1D and it's 2-on-1s, I don't feel that. I know we've only got 1 defender there, but they're just coming in to 4 or 5 yards and absolutely nailing it at the goalkeeper. Now, the only way any goalkeeper is going to stop that is if it's right at them. Let's see if they manage to find a spot. You're not stopping it, and that's it. I don't care who's in nets. So I know the goalkeeping stats aren't great for both of them now, but the D's diabolical.
But when you watch it, see when you look at form in general, right? So see at home, we've scored 43 goals in 13 games and conceded 35, right? So the home form, obviously playing at home ice, does preface that, right? You look at our away form, we've conceded 71 goals and we've only scored 44. So these guys who are pros should travel well, but I also think that a lot of our problem is, see, a lot of the shots we have are low percentage shots. We've said this before, Phil. We're sitting there and everyone is right down the keeper's neck, right? And it's straight at, and it's not like you look at other teams and they seem to have not so much a move, but they work it well. We seem to kind of we rely on Herd quite a lot. See, going forward, we do rely on him, and we know he's got a little bit of skill and everything else, but I just think we've got too similar a team. Every position, there's not someone you can say, if you were to take people that were different, you would say maybe Herd and you would say Uli.
Here's a question. This is what I've said before about our D, and this is what I've said about trying to win ugly in the road, and I don't think we're built for it. Who do we have in our D core that you think is an actual, our imports? You go, that he's our stay-at-home guy. Like, he's the guy you can, like, remember McIver, like Nathan McIver, you go, do you know what? He's a meat and potatoes, like, do you know what? Not going to do it overly fancy, but you know what? He'll make sure that we don't get caught, like, you know, to your point, Phil, see when we do get caught, like, he'll box guys or direct traffic in a certain way that allows guys, that changes it from being like a big chance into like we can start. I don't think we have one.
No, I think it's like I stay at home as the brat Kelly.
That's what I mean. Yeah, but you think we don't have it, and I think Dupree is one of the best.
But he jumps. He gets frustrated. He jumps on the play.
Do you know he jumps? Because again, I think, see if you're a guy like Dupree, he's actually got more quality in some of our forwards, I would say, in terms of attacking. But like, he is honestly, like, I think he is phenomenal player. And Saigo, I really like.
When you watch the Sheffield game, they went to end up the 1-on-1 with Dupree's mistake. But yeah, of course, he is a quality player.
Oh, he's quality. I mean, what makes it is he's, again, it's balanced, right? And you go, if you're playing Dupree, the problem is you got Chris McKay as well, and you got Saigo. They also, like, again, Chris McKay can skate. He is, and he can carry the puck. The problem is, I'm like, there's an imbalance there is what I think when you're talking about Phil and Chris. Like these chances, and they say, look, I know we're saying to the goalies, Bo's just not convinced me he's a top half goalie. I'm not saying we have to have the best goal in the league. We need a top half goalie, and I don't think he's dreadful. I think he's okay. He's just okay. But you're right, the amount of chances we give, and I think that's a problem. And I think it's really hard when you're on the road against these teams, when you're like, you know, and it's different if you know, again, like we said, if we're scoring barrel loads of goals and we're just a very offensive minded team. But as Colin just alluded to there, we're not. Like that's not happening either, right? So there definitely is something that needs to be, and I don't know. I don't think you can address that at this point because I just don't. As I said, who would be the guy, unless you're having to change a guy's DNA and say, look, I don't want you jumping on plays now. I want you just to stay back and just be a bit more conservative.
I think we're at that stage now where you need to just start changing folks' game.
Yeah,
and that's that. Say, look, just say, listen, like whoever it may be. Like,
I would say McKay probably be the obvious one to me. Just say, look, big man, just
hang back. Yeah, because unless you tell them, because right now they probably all think they're attacking D-men at this particular moment. Do you know what I mean? They all think they're the one that's to join the rush. But if you've got two D that both think that, you're in bother.
That's it. Listen, we're going to get to we're going to have to switch now, Chris. I'm going to come to you first in this one because I know we talked about it. We're going to get to the debacle in Dundee, right? So, I don't know if you all watched the game. It was, it wasn't good at all. Well,
I don't know. The first 20 minutes was all right.
What I'm talking about, again, the game of hockey, 60 minutes is my point. It's like, the game was, again, I call it a debacle in Dundee for a reason, right? And I think I'm just having a look for the tweet here. We did have, again, my goodness, by the way, I don't know, maybe this is set a record for the most tweets. I don't even know. But we did have a tweet asking us to discuss this. Let me just see who it was. It was, Kirsty. Yeah. So Kirsty, thank you for saying, for the benefits of those that didn't watch it. So maybe not everyone watched the game. Like, Chris, you know, I know you wanted to go into this. Like, again, we're talking massive discipline issues. Like Cody even said, we embarrass ourselves at the end of the game in terms of, we mentioned professionalism of the team. It all went to pot in that game. And this is a team that we are, and again, in lots of our opinion, we should be trying to separate from, right? And we just have not been able to do it this year, especially in Dundee. We have had massive problems time and time again where they have they've managed to score goals at will. An ex-Clam player, Sonch, you know, a bit of the, you know, Nido and maybe instigator sometimes, being clever and getting guys to react. Chris, what do you put this down to? Is this just there's a local match up there? It's two Scottish teams and maybe they're under our skin a little bit, or what do you put this down to? Because it was a terrible result.
You could say it's a local matchup, but I mean, how many Scottish players actually play in the game? You know, it's I think looking at the game there, it's amateur hour, really amateur hour. I do think as well there's a superiority complex, I think, from Clan, which is why they take more liberties against a team like Dundee, thinking they're better than they actually are. So what we'll do is start, in effect, gunning it up, and ultimately we paid the price by, just getting ripped apart in terms of our lack of discipline, leading to a lack of players on the ice, leading to goals against, and as Phil pointed out, 5 through 5 hole, 5 and 5. And I'm afraid it was lights out and see you later.
Yeah, it was like, Colin, I'll come to you. It felt like it was 5-on-3 for half the bloody game. It was like,
the discipline thing was one, right? But like when we lost 3 power plays, like 3 goals to 3 power plays, right? But then you lose Parry, who just totally lost the plot, and people are obviously getting frustrated, right? But when you're looking at Dundee in general, like, can I go? We're saying gunning it up. Dundee have probably got one of the top guys in the league for fighting, and the guy Pulot, or whatever you want to call him, right? As much as I hate the guy, but there never seems to be any out-and-out fight with Dundee. It always seems to be these wee personal niggles that go on, and it's like we get drawn into. They to be fair to Dundee, they draw us into that agitation all the time, and we bite. And it's every game we play in Dundee, we seem to save a ridiculous amount of penalties. And I think we were 38 minutes in penalties, and they had 8 power plays. We had 1, right? Now, sometimes somebody's got to say, for me, is Sidorov a real captain? Is he the guy that says to guys, you need to screw the nut here and calm down and let's do? Because I don't think he has that. It might be wrong, right? But when I see it, a captain in any team at any point, if you're getting something like that, will grab and almost like get a grip of somebody and say, like, wrap it, calm down, do whatever. Like, but he doesn't. I don't think he has that. So maybe the leadership is wrong, but I do think, like, against Dundee, they're just one of these teams that they have got quality up front. The boy Naz, who I said that we should have went after at one point, signing for Dundee, is now scoring goals for fun. So for me, it goes down to recruitment again. Lefebvre's pulled in a couple of guys like Naz and Sanch back, and they've made a difference to Dundee. You look at the additions we've brought in, and they've made 0 difference. So if you want to look at that, maybe recruitment again, but discipline was a huge bit. Like, when you've lost the rag at one point, you need to kind of screw the nut. And is Corey telling them to calm down? Are they not listening to the coach? How does that work? But every time we're going up to Dundee, I think we're losing an average of 6 goals a game.
It's wild, Colin. It's wild. It's
and you should learn. Like,
exactly. That's the thing. It's look. I understand that there's we've seen the guys, and the guys will just they'll again play on the edge of the rules, and they'll try and get something out. And I think, like you say, at a certain point you got to go, look. You can forgive a game like that every once in a while, right? You can go, look, in the heat of battle and all that. I get it, right? I've been there where the red mist comes down and you just don't, you make a bad decision. But I just can't believe we're doing the same thing again and again. Phil, what's your take on it briefly, and then we'll get to some of the kind of other comments and questions, so we get through it all. Any
on the Dundee game,
on the Dundee debacle? Yeah, it was
they're smart, we're stupid.
Yeah,
that's pretty much. Lefebvre definitely 100% sets his stall out. He tells his team to go out and wind us up. Even before they went behind, they were doing all that stuff. The wee pokes in at the keeper after he covers up, just to get the juices going. And then, but they're smart with it, and we're not. We're just so stupid. It's like I watched the half-hour highlights. Dundee actually put a half-hour highlight package of that game out. I don't know if it just came out today, but I watched it a couple of hours ago, and it was like watching the Clan versus versus Fife, the Heeless years. The years of the playoffs. That's exactly what it was reminding. Just killing us with speed at the end, and we're charging about there. We can't match them with skill, and it was that Corey had the nail on the head. Our guys were just embarrassing themselves, and it just makes it sweeter for them. Parry, was it Parry that was getting
It's just lost the rag.
that was diabolical. Like, punishment, these players need punished. End of story. On what Colin was talking about with Seedorf, I was thinking, like, when you said that, who is captain material there? And the only person I can really think of is Yuli, just because he leads the team forward with scoring goals. He's a calm head. You never see him in any shit.
Dupree maybe.
Dupree, like the fifth goal.
Oh, mate.
when that went through the keeper's legs, or the sixth goal, the camera, it was a great shot. The camera, Dupree's just looking at it, and he was smiling, like almost like, what the fuck am I doing with these dummies here? So if you get a chance, just watch it, just see his face.
Well, do you know how
laughing?
See, Parry lost the plot, right? Which was ridiculous. But see, when we're talking about gooning it up and everything else, why don't you get the one guy or whoever you want to fight and go and cause a fight and try and calm the game down? We've got all these guys that can so-called fight, right? But nobody actually calls them out and goes, right, tell you what, they're bringing it back. They're now 3-2 up. I'm going to go and call somebody out. Let's go, me and you, centre ice, blah, blah, blah. And then it will stop all the niggling and everything else. That's the whole point in it. It'll stop at least the game. But nobody seemed to do that.
Lefebvre said that in the interview. Did you see his interview after it? He's like, I remember this league used to be actually full of tough guys. Now it's just full of pretend tough guys. So he was basically saying we're being hard. I don't know, is that Poulion guys? Was he playing?
He's their guy that they go to.
Was he playing that at the weekend? Was he playing?
I think it was. Aye, I'm almost sure.
I can only summarise for what he was saying was our big guys are having go at their smaller players, but when that Pouliot was on ice, none of them were getting near him.
He wasn't playing.
No, well, that's obviously what he must have been talking about. It was just embarrassing. We need to get smart when we're playing them, because once we get dragged into that game, they just absolutely kill us with their speed.
They do. Chris, you got your hand up.
Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, no, you're fine. It's just, and what we're talking about earlier on as well, this kind of reminds me just of Corey Nielsen teams in general. All through the years, Nottingham it's always a big bad Panthers.
Yeah.
It's always semi-goon hockey. It was always about physicality, overpowering the opposition. As we spoke about early on in the season, it's not about, the flashy players and great skill. It's just about grinding people down. So what you get with Corey Nielsen teams is a good cup team, but no much else, in terms of actually challenging for trophies, in terms of league championships year in, year out. So it's just kind of history repeating itself for me. This is just a Corey team, and I know he talks about a lack of discipline and stuff like that, but this is his team. He's built it his way, so he knows that when he signs these guys, there's got to be an element of this niggle. There's got to be an element of petulance, and we're seeing it.
100%, and I think that's what I was alluding to earlier. I'm going to get to questions that transitions to one of the questions here. Is again, it was like, I kind of locked onto earlier. I was like, I could kind of see what I was trying to what am I trying to buy into here? And I think, like you say, Corey, like you say, he's very open about the fact he likes people like the physical side of the game, and I do think with that, if you build a team that way, you are susceptible to being, because guys that have that kind of DNA and want to play that way, I do think that's it. They go over the edge, and if that's your superpower, when things aren't going your way, you sometimes try and lean into, well, okay, let's get a bit more. And I think that's what this team does. Like there's enough evidence of that where, and then it goes over the line and it just becomes stupid and embarrassing. And like you say, Phil, I think it was the best way to sum up is that, they're smart, we're not. Like that was exactly the right way to sum that game up. For those that missed it, you didn't miss anything. Was obviously money down the toilet for those of us that that got the cast. But yeah, anyway, it is what it is. Let's move on to some questions.
I think it's money down the toilet as well.
Yeah, that's it. So I'm not going to get to all of them. So thank you to everyone. There's just so many questions. I'm just going to try and pick out some that I think are, somewhat, topical. So where was I? Sorry. Well, there you go. Lovely Tanya saying she misses Hayden. She says sorry. Tanya did make the point though about Berry and Steve Cade, and I think Colin, you saw you covered that point. Like, just like maybe not the best use of again mid-season recruitment. But I do want to get to my goodness, it's like I can't scroll down far enough here. So many questions. Here we go. We're getting down to it now. That's it. Callum. There's Rod. There we go. Jeez, oh man, goodness, Raymond as well. Gosh, there's Big Dave. Okay, so here we go. We'll start with Eddie's question. So again, good friend Eddie Squire says, Eddie's asking, like, why are we consistently bad every year? Well, we're bringing in new coaches and players. We're being in what we think is top 5 budgets. So new owner, but again, contentious question here. Phil, I'll just have you answer this one. I will try and keep it to one opinion because we've got so many. Do you think the upper management is a factor in this? And obviously that's changed a little bit. Obviously, we know Murph's come in. Like, do you think that is there an issue in the upper management? Is because we're new owner, got new coach, new players, things aren't shifting, or you think it's a nice issue?
The only thing you can blame an upper management is they've picked the wrong coach. That's the only mistake they can make. Yep. So that's the answer to that. This year, the upper management have had 0 to none input as far as we are led to believe on the players that we've signed. It's all Corey's guys. It's all his team. So it's no MD's fault. And before Colin starts, it's no Gareth either.
There you go. Definitely not Gareth.
See my opinion. You're like consistent.
Yeah.
You said 0 to none, and I was like, that's the next one.
What you can put on upper management is the not allowed to bring your own like sweets and stuff in and like that. Look, folks. My advice is the same. People, look, it's like it's like airports. Like, look, if we continue to pay it, they can continue to charge it. So vote with your feet. Like, I mean, don't put it. That's what makes the prices come down. So anyway, let's go to George Deacon. Said what a shit show in Dundee. You're correct. He said basically George's point is this. He said like and Colin, I'll come to you. Like after that performance, does he just scratch? Like take Pye for example. Just go, you're scratch, mate. Does he leverage some of the two-way guys if he has to make an example to give these guys a kick up the arse? Like, I guess what George is getting at, like, how does Corey deal with that pattern of repeated behaviour that he's seeing? How does he address that with the team?
Well, look what happened with Herd. So when Herd had that bit of a wobble that everybody blamed him for, they dropped the whole line down to the third, right? And then they put Parry and Perkusic and Jameson in the top line. So for me,
I know.
Well, we won against Guildford. We beat Guildford.
No, in the Dundee game.
All right. What I'm saying is, like, he done that, and it made a point because he's not really done much since. So with Parry, do you drop him? Do you put? I mean, to be fair, they need to do something. So whether it's making folks scratch them, do you put some of the two-way guys in and then give them an opportunity? And then it's maybe not so much in back, but it can hurt a guy's pride who's an import, who's getting paid X, Y, and Z and being dropped for a guy that's not even in the league. So maybe you need to hurt somebody's pride. Maybe you need to go back to simple hockey. Maybe do we need to change how people play and force it? I really don't know. I mean, whatever it is, it needs to happen quickly. We've been saying this all season. We're up and we're down. We're up and we're down. And like, yeah, as I said, I don't have an answer. Me, would I drop him? He's a guy that obviously plays and is getting frustrated and everything else. Is it ridiculous? Yes, it is. But does it show he cares? Don't know.
Maybe. It's quite nice. Just got a wee weird of timing. A good friend John Strange says hi. He just texted me to say happy birthday. So hi John, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Chris, you've got your hand up before I go to the next question.
Yeah, we just come back to the point from the ex comment about the upper management and stuff. I don't think it's an upper management issue. I believe that our biggest problem is a lack of continuity in coaching, and we've had to change the coaching because they've been rubbish. Yeah, and I think that's partly the issue, is that we're bringing in a whole lot of new players who a lot of them don't know the league, and it's trying to get the good ones. You know, you're a lot of your successful teams, your Belfast, your Sheffields, your Cardiffs, these guys or these teams have coaches who are in multiple years of service now, and so they've taken the best bits of their teams and then added guys on top of it. And I think part of our issue is the fact that we change coach every year, although we've had to, because of all been absolutely dire. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Phil, next one for you, Stephen Hill. I love this question. Has the import signing limit of 20 actually been a bad thing? Like, what's to stop big teams stockpiling? But we now have a situation, so that's why they brought it in. It was to stop, obviously, the big teams stockpiling people. But now we have a situation where you make a couple of poor signings, like you mentioned, Steve, and you don't have any scope to make changes. You can see it being scrapped next year. Do you think that's fair?
I think it's fair, or would I like it scrapped?
Would you like it scrapped? Do you think his point?
No, I think it's there for that reason, to bring a bit of parity to the league. So it's because it's all about affordability. It's okay, as we could bring 20 imports in, but the level would drop off massively on the back four of those imports. Whereas the likes of Belfast, they would have a 20 strong, group of imports who are all potential for second, third liners. Do you know what I mean? That's where they are financially. So I think we just made an arse of it, and that's
what I think as well.
It's a question that's getting asked because we've made a complete backside there. If things, nobody was asking questions like that 2 weeks ago.
There we go. Okay, so Big Dave's asked, I'll maybe take this one and Colin, I'll bounce it to you. So Big Dave, that's my nephew's favourite Clan fan. What does Cody need to deliver to be successful this season? Has he done enough to not be turfed out? Look, I think we have to stick with him. I just don't think there's even a decision here. Asked about the amount of penalties and stuff, we've covered that. But I think to me, that what I want to get on here, and I'm going to get everyone's sort of just a brief opinion from everyone on this. At this point now, where we are, right? So we're out of the cup, right? We are where we are in the league. What does success look like this season now? Is it seventh? Would we say seventh is successful if we think that's the best place we could get? Like, I don't know, Colin, Chris, what do you think? Like, what you're kind of briefly, what does success look like?
I think seventh is probably where we'll end up, but I wouldn't say a success in any shape or form, but I would say that's been realistic as to where we could end up. And, maybe, I guess, finishing in that position, and then perhaps, if we could get somehow to the Nottingham weekend, the playoff weekend, even the semi-finals, that will be seen as a margin of success.
You need to get through Belfast or Cardiff to get there. So either way, you would. If you manage to get the playoff weekend, that would be a success because you would then be beating the top two. Seventh, I think the gap is now, like I said to you guys before, if we had won, we'd won the Cardiff game and then we had made even that weekend there and against Manchester beforehand, winning and then trying to close that gap on the top. The problem is Guildford are now picking up points, beating Sheffield, and they're now starting to stretch away, and Coventry are picking up points. So I think the gap, because we haven't really been on that run, so to speak, we had a run, but I'm talking about a run where you think we can really close that gap. I don't think we've got the mental strength to close that gap. I think what we need to do is continually just seventh is where we need to stay. We've got enough games in front of Dundee, but again we've dropped to eighth now, so we need to win the games in hand. But I think seventh is our best potential finish. Realistically,
do you know what? See, I'll put it out there. If we finish, I'll answer it very directly. If we finish seventh, which is what we all believe probably is our best league position we can finish, and we immediately go out and don't make the play, that's a disaster of a season in my mind. That's a disaster. It's the opposite of success. I think the only way that there will be any sort of claim of success is if we make, to Chris's point, we make the playoff weekend. 100% agree with that, Chris. That is now the only route to even an acceptable season. I know it's season one, but I'm sorry, like if we finish 7th and just get, routinely beat by whether it's Cardiff, whether it's Belfast, whether it's Sheffield, whoever it may be that we face, that's a really. I think then you've got to be doing a huge post-mortem. And if I was in upper management, I would be challenging Corey on his style of play and philosophy, and challenging him whether that's winning hockey in this league the way the league is now, because I'm not sure that it is. Phil,
see, just on that point, who let's see the owner. We don't know anything about him, so how can he really challenge Corey on something he doesn't know about?
But it's not the owner. It's like Murph. Look, obviously we know Murph's very involved, right? But I think, look, ultimately he reports, and and Murph knows the league, knows that, like you said, Chris, he knows the Adam Keefes. He knows he's plugged in, right? He know. You start looking around and go, right.
He'll also judge it when he speaks to other owners and talks about how much money they've spent on their team as well, and looks at what we've spent on our team. And we've spoken about this. We think the Clan's budget is right up there with the best of them. So, with that in mind, the owner has every right to challenge the coach, based on what the spend output has been.
Yeah, I was just wondering how that would look, just because I thought you were talking about the owner challenge room. But anyway, success to me looks like it's playoff weekend. That, like Chris says, that's Andrew. Things have been, for the money spent 2 years in the trot. I know it wasn't Corey's look to spend last year, but and just a wee cherry on top would be retaining, for me, Uli, Finlay, Dupree and Herd.
He loves Finlay.
That's it. I do. Listen, I've got another good friend, Raymond Monaghan. I love this question because this is something we talked about. So here, and we're gonna. He's taking the Colin route with some stats, which I like. He basically said, I think it's just jumped off my phone, but I've got it committed to memory. Raymond, don't worry. He said he hit a stat there, and he said after 30 games, we are 3 points worse off than we were last season right now. So what he's challenging us on is I think we've all said this. He's saying, is this team actually any better than last season's team? Because we've stuck up for this team and said we're sure this team is better. The numbers would tell you that they're not better. Do we still back that assertion, or are we starting to doubt our position there?
Like, I think the team are better than last year because the league has improved on last year. Look at some of the teams challenging now at the top. So the league has taken a step up. The problem is we haven't stepped up as far as the other teams at the top of the league. So are we better? Yes. But other teams have improved more significantly than we have. We just haven't made that increased improvement that takes us into the top half of the table.
Yeah. I'll just add a wee bit onto that. The bottom half teams, Fife aside, have improved, outshot us an improvement. And that's why we're feeling the pain so much just now. The Coventrys, the Nottinghams, they've all improved far more than us.
Yeah. I will put out there, Raymond's put it in my head. Do I still believe we're better? I think we have some better, we have a few really good players. Do I think the team, like I say, I don't know. Honestly, I am at that point where I'm just like, I don't know that. Maybe they're better, but they're not that much better, right? It's like I do think there's a coming to Jesus at the end of this season. If things, unless there's some turnaround here, if things continue the way they are, and we end up limping to 7th, I think there's a huge post-mortem that has to be had. At the end of this season. But I am starting to doubt that and say, I don't know that we are. I think that Chris alluded to a lack of quality, and I think it's becoming more and more evident that's the case with this team.
You think the style's much different for last year?
Yeah, the style's different. I think the style's what I don't like. I'm not a big fan of Cody. I don't think it's winning hockey. I think you look around the league at the teams that I always look and think, well, who are you trying to emulate? You look at look at Coventry have done well this year. And you look at Guildford, right? You look at those teams and you go, teams like that have done well. Fife in those years, like you mentioned, Phil, where they have had the all good year. It's not playing old school, show me in any sport. You go, oh, that team just went back to something that was played, 20 years ago. and wipe the floor with everyone. That's just not the way things are. And I think Cody is been shown to be a very one-dimensional coach. And I think it's great when it works. And I think if you've got, again, it comes down to recruitment, right, as well. I don't know that, you know, I mean, that'll be a big reflection. I think, you know, bang for our buck. Do you really think we've got the right amount of bang for our buck? I would argue not, but I do think he's got a massive bias to a certain prototype of player. And I think I just don't think that's going to get it done and push the Clan to where we want to be, which is the upper half of this table, right? I'm not getting ahead of myself, but we want to be up there where Coventry and Guildford are. That's we want to be in that bracket that can sniff about, right, and finish in the top half. So you get every year you say we've got a great chance of getting to the playoff weekend, which is what it should be all about for us. So yeah, I am starting to doubt that now. The more that I see the team, and the more, and I said I'll start to judge after Christmas, and we're in that period now when it's crunch time, and you start to find out more about what this team's made of or not.
Yeah, I was saying to you guys the other day, we've got 4 games in a week coming up here. Things could get very, very ugly very, very quickly. The only saving grace is we'll get 5 twice of those 4 games.
But Fife have actually started pulling results the past
That's
2
what
games.
I mean. Like, it's less of a gimme now than it was last week, you know, 2 weeks ago. So, God help us.
Yeah. So question from Stargazer is said, why do other coaches in the league, Chris, I'll come to you this one. So this is, again, it's a Corey Nielsen question. Why do other coaches in the league seem to adapt to a changing game, yet we stay the same? And he does mention that about 55 minutes of penalties in the last 2 games against Dundee being unacceptable. But in terms of that changeability, like, I mean, you said this coming in, Chris, right? You were kind of like, going to do what it says in the tin, right? And do you think Corey's capable of evolving, or do you think this is what you're going to get, maybe with some slightly different players next year?
We're seeing a typical Corey Nielsen team, simple of hard grafters, and you know, checking hard and wearing teams down. We'll never be a team of wow players. You know, your Ulis are a rarity in a Corey Nielsen team. It's all about hard graft and smashing the opposition and a lot of attrition.
Yeah.
Can I just add something to that?
Yeah, of course you can.
Just talking about Corey's style, right? And I seen a wee something in that Dundee game, and I was so jealous of it. I think it was goal number 4 that Dundee scored. Like, we're not cute with the puck, and can see, like, behind the net. Like, for example, you'd mentioned this earlier, Ross, about we're good on the turnover, and everybody's piling forward because we're energised because we've turned them over. But see, like, behind the net, like, Dundee had it, they cycled it behind the net, congested to hell. All our guys were there in position, but the guy took the puck, like, it was in line with the net, took it beyond the net, and then just done a wee flick back. It was for I think it was maybe for their first or second goal, and it was a wee forward, and just put it back, and the guy just slapped it into through Breen's legs, believe it or not. But it was just something that I'm like, it was so simple, but it was so cute, and it just gave, like, everybody was expecting me to continue to take it round the net. Like, the defenders had all made the moves behind the net. He lays it back out to the edge of the blue, and he just smashes it in. We've just not got that cuteness about congested areas, and I think that's just a Corey thing. Yeah. It's just we'll bundle the puck over the line. That's the kind of way I feel about this team.
Yeah, well, listen, we've got a lot of people like Mo, Chris Morris, Callum Stewart, all saying, I think, saying actually, you know what, they do believe, to Raymond's question, this team is better than last year. It's more enjoyable going to the games. I think that's probably fair. Net. I've better experiences at the games probably than I had last year, which is why I was kind of saying I do think they're better. I think everyone's unanimous saying we can't keep changing managers and stuff. So there's no call for Cody's head here. I think it's more of a, can Cody can Cody grow and learn to be able to build a team that is going to be competitive?
A core. We need to keep a core of the better players that we've got this year, and then basically add to it and add quality, not just adding numbers.
Yeah. There is some points about the goalie coach being remote. Like, I mean, we have to talk about the goal. We've talked about a little bit. We have talked about this, I know, but people complaining and saying that apparently the goalie coach is not based here. I didn't know that, if that's true or not, but that's what people are saying, is that they may not actually be based here. So yeah, and then just some comments about. I think the what I've seen on the comments is, you know, Bo's good, just not great, and I don't think any of us disagree with that. He's not a bad goalie. He's just not a top. Like there's at least 5 better goalies in the league, if not more than Landon.
There's a lot more. I think he's like bottom 3.
Yeah. Again, I think our D is, like, to your point, Phil, I think it's a maybe, but again, there's definitely at least 5 goalies that are better than him, and in a 10 team league. That probably tells you, given how important goalies are in ice hockey, then the goaltending is, then it's going to be tough. So it's good but not good enough. And then I guess the other theme that I'm seeing was, you know, people saying Rome wasn't built in a day. You know, in terms of like that core. So again, what we're trying to say here, I always like to try and finish in something positive, as we're going to finish in a minute, looking forward to the games we've got coming up, previewing them, is if we think Cody can evolve, right, and maybe adapt a little bit, right, and not be as rigid in saying this is the way we're going to do it and there's only one way to do it, right, what would be the core that we think is there to build around? And Phil, I think you said you mentioned a few names. You can just rattle them off again, and then do we add any names to that? Like, I don't know that I think the ones you said, I was quite happy. I think you said Finlay, Uli, Hurd, Dupree. There's 4. Yeah. Right, there's 4. Is there Chris, Colin? Are you? Yeah.
Right. The way I feel right now, that's only ones. But listen, that's a good line. Do you know what I mean? That is a good line. You don't want to keep too much dead wood with the scar tissue and etc. if things don't finish well. But this is even if we finish bottom, right? I'm saying that's if I would still take those 4 back.
Yeah, I'd take
this is hail, rain or snow.
Yeah, I'd take Saigo as well. And Colin, is Schwartz?
We did talk about the fact that Saigo and Dupree are going to be 35 next year, so both of them.
You're so ageist, Chris. Every time it's age. Yeah. I mean, you're the oldest in this chat. Does that mean you retire at it?
Can age overnight, mate. Age overnight.
No, I mean the thing is, like, if you look at, I like the boy Saigo. I think he's aggressive. I think I would bring him, Dupree. I would take Uli back. I'd take Hurd back. But apart from that, that's it. I don't think Finlay and McClelland, as much as Finlay's points don't, but McClelland and Finlay just don't have. I think the league in general, if you look at it, I think us and Dundee have got 3 of the smallest players in the league with Sanch and Neto. So they don't tend to. I don't like smaller players, but it's just I would say Saigo or Saigo, however you want to pronounce it.
You get such a thing against small players, The
thing is, you're just ageist. You always say the same thing. They're over 29. We can't bring them back, but like no. But I think genuinely, like Hurd, I'd maybe bring Perkusic back. I think he does a lot that you don't notice. He kind of works hard, grinds away. I like the boy Perkusic. I think he does a lot of kind of thankless stuff. And every time he's been put in a position, he's done a job. So I quite like the big guy. I think I would bring him back. And obviously the Brit pack. That would probably be about it.
Okay. Well, I would say I like Sai. I know I take your point, Chris. I would just be, if you pair Dupree and you pair Saigo with I think a more conservative stay-at-home meat and potatoes, I think that could be really that's the kind of balance I want to see. I think those 2 guys have got. I mean, look, see, to be honest, Chris McKay is all right, but I think those 2 guys are as good as I've seen in recent years at Clan. I would take, and even though I do know they're a bit older, I would be looking at maybe a younger, more basic straight up D-man to pair, because they do jump on plays. They can contribute offensively. But yeah, that's the only tweak. And I think Schwartz is the only other one I think's actually done.
I actually we forgot all about Schwartz last week when we were talking about this. I actually like Schwartz. He's another one I'd forgot about.
He's the one that I'm on the fence, Phil. I'm now leaning like he might make it in terms of an extra body that I would say he might be worth hanging on to. I think he's actually stepped up and done a good job since he was.
He's not top liner though. He's definitely not.
No. But since the line changed, since Uli was dropped, and it obviously got things. I think he's actually. Yeah. Again, I'm not saying he's an absolute must keep. But I think you're right. I think that's
for building a team. He's a guy that's he could utilise in a lot of different.
That's
ways.
what I think. Yeah. He's shown he shows he can contribute. Yeah. Okay. So there we go. Solved that. Look, I think we covered most of the topics that you all kind of sent in. Apologies if we didn't get to all of them. There was just. Again, it's so funny, isn't it? I mean, it's the worst thing. When the clan aren't doing well, we've got so much more to talk about because everyone is like, the comments come flooding in. Obviously, we'd much rather the team be doing well, and we're sitting here just kind of going, high-fiving, and, that's obviously we'd all much rather be doing that, but it's not the case just now. Well, let's look ahead then. Next games, like you did mention, Phil, we do have a couple of home games against the Flyers in quick succession, but before that, we do have a game against the Sheffield Steelers, so that is this Saturday. And then on Sunday, we host the Manchester Storm before, again, 2 more home games, Wednesday and Saturday against the Fife Flyers. We'll kind of draw the line there. It does get, I don't want to start looking at the away games just now because it'll just make me depressed. So look, 4 home games. So I want to, again, talk about finishing on a positive. 4 home games. Obviously, one against the Steelers who aren't the Steelers of last year. So, and we've beaten Belfast at home. Like we've run Cardiff really close. At home, and then you've got obviously Manchester feels like a massive game in terms of this battle we've got ourselves drawn into potentially this battle for the 7th and 8th place and not wanting to be the 9th place team that will join Fife not making the playoffs as things currently look, and then obviously 2 home games against Fife, which are just, to me, there's not much to say apart from Fife. You're right, Colin, have improved. They're just must win. But let's take the Sheffield and Manchester games, the immediate ones. Like how do we do we think that there's a way to turn this around, given the fact that this team can compete and can perform at home? Those 2 games back-to-back nights, obviously at the weekend. Phil, what do you think? How are you feeling?
Sorry, are they both at home for us?
Oh, yeah. Next 4 games are at home, so we've got four before we go Sunday. Yeah.
I don't think I've seen Storm this year. Have they been up here?
I've not seen Storm at Arena. No, I haven't seen them either.
I didn't see them.
No, you weren't at the game.
I didn't.
So the good news is I didn't see anything from Steelers that would make me scared of them. Like we've beat better teams than them this year, especially at home. So that's the good news with that. And I mean, see if you'd asked me this before that weekend or before the last run of 4 games, I'd have said we're going to win both of those games. So not that much can change in 2 weeks, really. So there is no reason that we cannot get 4 points out of this. I know that sounds crazy after what's just went, but I just think that we need to win these 2 games, and that's it. Did you see we've dropped down to 8th now, Colin?
Yep.
Yeah, we need to win these 2, and that's it. 4 points.
Yeah, there's games in hand and stuff, but we're in.
I know, but when you look at that table, at that table, we're sitting 8th, Ross. We need to win both those games. We can do it. And Fife is just, I'm not even going to talk about that. We just need to win them, and that's
I think you're right, Phil, on the Sheffield one. As much as that game was a bit of I didn't agree with Corey's assessment. I thought, like you said, it was a bit of a training weird game. They didn't, even though it did feel like they could have gone up again. I feel like, see if the way we played against like Belfast at home, like Cardiff, If we put that kind of performance in, I feel we could absolutely have them.
We could have been up a gear as well. So
that's what I feel like we didn't get going, like you say, Sam. I'm saying, see if we put in one of those performances that we know we can, and we have beaten, I think, better teams than Sheffield. There's no reason we can't beat Sheffield.
Yeah. And see, because it's Sheffield, Ross, we'll be right up for it. See if it was Storm first, right? Yeah, the level of fired up is just because it's Steelers. It's the biggest club in the league, essentially. So, like, there should be somebody needs to light a fire under them. You shouldn't have to, but it's Steelers. And
do you know my only concern with the Steelers is, I don't know, because I was obviously watching the cast, and look, Murph does a really good job on commentary. I have to say, like, he is good in commentary. I do enjoy him. But my God, like, I feel like when Greenfield comes to our building, we're just like, I don't know if the whole team, we're just worshipping him, saying that this guy's almost like he beats you before you get there. I'm like that. I've never heard somebody wax lyrical about. And again, and don't get me wrong, he did have some, like, to be fair, he did have some good stops. Like, we did have a handful of grade A chances in that game, and he did come up big for them, but. You kind of go like that. As soon as you start to believe that, I think you kind of define your own fate. I want to see us making him uncomfortable, taking his eyes away. I think you've got to just, like, we've got to go in with an attitude in that game to say, we're not going to let him steal this game, right? We're going to go and, really give him make him have a difficult night, because somebody's got. I just worry that it's like, and I just think I do hear a lot from our coach sometimes about, the goalie solving the goal. It's like, look, I know we have lots of shots. It's like, it's our fucking player's job to solve. Like, he's a fucking goalie, right? It's hockey. Yeah. The puck is this size. Look, I'm sorry. We just have to be better. We just have to have a mentality that we have to be better. It's not about this goalie being.
If we haven't sussed them out, or any team out, considering they played this many games, like Steelers, everybody plays a certain way. So, like, if you look at the Dundee, for example, if Faber's figured us out when we go to Dundee, because he's got a number every time, right? So we've got to figure them out when they come here. And if we've not figured that out from the last game we played, which was like a friendly, is ridiculous for me. Like, so we're a very Jekyll and Hyde team, and it depends what team turns up. If the team that you watched against Belfast fell at home, and the team that we enjoy, like when we get behind and we really enjoy it, we could beat MD. But see if we have the team that is like, they're maybe having an off day or whatever else, we'll get beat at home twice, because Storm will come up here knowing they need the points. So they will come up here almost like a cup final. So I'd imagine there'll be a lot of needle in that game. But essentially, I'm not too sure. After like the highs of the Guildford game and what I've witnessed lately, it's too hard to call. You couldn't call it.
Chris, how many points we taking? 4 home games in a row.
4 home games in a row. We will get beat by Sheffield, and we'll beat Manchester and Fife twice. So 6 out of 8. But the teams below us will beat.
Phil?
I said aye. Well, I'm going 8.
I'm going 8, Phil. I'm going 8.
Yeah.
Because we have to. You know what?
We'll probably beat Sheffield and beat Storm, then lose to Fife twice.
Do you know why it's going to be 8, Phil? Because it has to be 8. It has to be 8.
Yeah.
All right. What were you calling?
5.
Okay, 5. Okay.
I reckon we'll lose to Sheffield in overtime. I think Storm will beat us, because I think we can't do back to back for what. And I think the 5 games we should win. But again, I'm like Phil. We'll go into that game expecting to win, and something will happen. That kind of way. Like, I don't know. As I said, they're so Jekyll and Hyde that it's so difficult to try and get behind it at the moment.
It's a simple solution, boys, isn't it? It's really simple. Look at Phil's wall. Big courage, got to get them down, sit them down, boys. Watch Braveheart, right? Let's get fired up.
I think
But then's got to channel a little bit of the Yoda and be like, right, just got to calm the fuck down, guys, right? Okay, as much as I want that energy, it's got to be that kind of like energy with a little bit like, let's not go overboard. Let's get some kind of Yoda wisdom in there as well. So Phil's got all the answers there. In a couple of, obviously, pop cultures where the answers usually are. But look, I've got to believe. I'm going 8. I'm going, look, it's a bad week. I'm hoping they just the boys shake it off, and the home form has got to give everyone hope. and I'm just hoping that we can, find a way to put in those levels. But I think it's desperation hockey now. We've got to get ourselves, because if we can win these games, we could put ourselves, like, if you get that breathing spot. Chris has had enough. He's like, stuff this, boys. Sacked off. It's Cinderella past his bedtime. But yeah, I think that's what it is. It is a matter of, I think the guys all know how big these games are, and then obviously we get the road games come back, and we know how tough that's been for us. So I think that's why these games are must win. And I'm absolutely sure we can do it. So we'll see. But anyway, let's leave it there. We've run over as usual a little bit.
This is in the penalty box. He's not playing anymore.
I know, he's just gone off. He didn't. Yeah, God knows. Yeah, who knows? He'll blame the Wi-Fi. But anyway, look, thanks to everyone for all the comments. There was loads of stuff that came in. We only put up today, so we appreciate it. We'll get this bit. Well, you'll be. I don't know why I'm saying this, because you were listening. But yeah, please post, share this. With people you think might enjoy it as well. We do appreciate that. And more importantly, big double header this weekend at Braehead Arena, where the Mighty Clan are in town against the Steelers and then the Manchester Storm. Come on, the Clan. Let's do this.